were some things that you thought was real strange that they ate? If you could think of some stuff they eat since it's
Well,
near the jungles or whatever. I don't know.
yeah. So the most unique food in Cuenca, and they actually took it from Peru. Peru kind of created this, but well, I'll go into it and then tell the backstory. So it's called cuy,
Okay.
Cuy. So anyone listening, I would recommend you Google cuy,
Okay.
and then come back and listen. So if you don't know, cuy is rotisserie guinea pig.
Oh wow.
Yep. And so the fluffy pet you probably had as a 7 or 8 year old
Okay.
down there is considered on par to a lobster or a prime rib or something of that
Wow.
nature stateside. They cost quite a bit, $15 to $20 for a cuy if you went out to a restaurant, which is a lot more than most food costs down there.
Wow.
And it's a delicacy. It's considered, if you go to your friend's house and they serve you cuy, they're trying to impress you, that sort of thing. And so it was very unique. I wasn't a fan.
Okay.
Once get the skin or once you get the fur off, the skin, it first off looks like a rat.
Okay.
It's a guinea pig. It's very small.
Okay.
And so you get the skin off. The skin is very tough. And then in a lot of ways, it's like eating a fish. Not a whole lot of meat and a lot of little tiny bones you have to eat
Ooh.
around.
That
Yeah.
doesn't sound very good to me.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So when I had the opportunity, I was like, oh, I'll take the chicken, please,
Okay.
instead of the cuy. Yeah.
Okay. So
But
chicken was probably pretty prevalent then. So it's
chicken
pretty,
was the most popular. Yeah. And actually,
okay.
Ecuador, as far as the South American countries, the food was not great. It's very
Okay.
bland.
All right.
Peru had much better food. Colombia has much better food. Obviously, Brazil and Argentina, there's a reason that we have those restaurants here stateside,
Okay.
because Brazilian and Argentinian food is incredible. Ecuador was French fries, rice, a quarter of a chicken, and
Okay.
a bowl of chicken broth soup to start it off. That's your
Okay.
typical Ecuadorian meal.
Okay. So nothing fancy then.
Nothing too fancy. Yeah.
But did you go to? I mean, did you go to Colombia a lot and Peru a lot and eat, or how much did you visit those countries?
The nature of my parents' work, we did travel to other countries,
Oh, cool.
maybe for a week or two at a time to visit other
Awesome.
missionaries. So we did a trip down to Peru. I liked that a
Awesome.
lot. We went to Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua. I did a trip to Haiti. And so one of my bucket list goals is to be to every country that speaks Spanish as its main language. And I need to look it up. I think it's 19 countries, and I've been to
Okay.
10 of them so far,
Wow.
where Spanish is the main language. So that's on the goal, the lifetime bucket list goal. The
Okay.
hardest one is a country right off Africa. It's an island called Equatorial Guinea, where
Okay.
for some reason they were owned by Spain. Spanish is one of the main languages. So all the other ones I think I could get to pretty easily. Equatorial Guinea is probably going to be the hardest to cross off the list.
Okay. Okay. Wow. I was trying to think of something else. I was trying to think, was there anything that you heard about that was really, really strange, but you never met him? Like, was there any, like, in Ecuador, was there, like, still, like, native jungle people or not? Because I know some of the South American countries, they still have native groups that still live like they have for thousands of years. Was there any native groups in Ecuador like that
Oh,
that you knew
absolutely.
of?
So
Okay.
I never met them. My parents did go to the jungle.
Okay.
There's Jim Elliott is a famous pilot from I think the 40s or 50s. He was a missionary pilot,
Okay.
went down to Ecuador, worked with people in the jungle there. And now you can go back and visit the people, the indigenous people he was working with ended up killing him. But now since then realize what they've done, and they turned it almost into a tourist attraction. So my parents went there. I stayed behind. I didn't have the chance to go.
Okay.
But I never went to the jungle. So Ecuador split into thirds.
Okay.
You have the Pacific coast,
Okay.
the Pacific Ocean. And so they're very hot, they're humid, you're right on the equator. And those are your big cities and your beach life. Then where I was, the middle of the country is the Andes Mountains. And so you would have mountain people, indigenous mountain people who still speak the old Inca languages. And so in Ecuador, where we were up in the mountains, they would throw some of these words in there, used casually, that were Quechua or Quechua words,
Okay.
but they would just use them interspersively. And then on the East Coast, you have the Amazon rainforest. So in there,
Jeez.
that's where you have all of these indigenous people who live in the forest. We did not trek down to the forest too often.
Okay.
We stayed high up in the mountains.
Is it kind of dangerous?
Yeah, it's uncharted. It really is. There's a lot that's undiscovered.
Okay.
So,
so you didn't go down the
too
Amazon
often.
much?
No, nope.
But you did go. What was it like from what you saw?
Well, it was hot, very muggy.
Okay.
A lot of mosquitoes, that's
bet.
more of when you think of like tribal living in huts,
Yeah.
There's cars and doctors and teachers and things like that, but much more primal than where we were in the mountains.
I would love to see it. I don't know if I want to spend much time there, but I'd love to say that I've been there, have seen it, but it's always interested me, but it looks like it's pretty rough living there.
It would be. Yeah, absolutely.
So what was, did you go to Columbia, you said?
No, Columbia is the one that I haven't been to yet.
Okay.
We were close by to it, but at the time we didn't have missionaries living there. So we would go where our missionaries were. So it's on the list of the countries I'm going to visit. It's much safer now than it was probably in the 80s and 90s during Pablo Escobar, Narcos years.
Was really, really
Medellin, yeah.
Yeah.
You do not want to go there.
Yeah, I bet. Do you remember any other weird cultural things like when you went to school? Like something that, I know did you go to school with missionaries? Is that what you said?
In Costa Rica, I did. In Ecuador, I did online school. I did to keep up with our American curriculum. Gotcha. But all my friends went to school. I'd go, when they'd have events and whatnot, I'd go visit and played on teams. So I saw quite a bit. The most unique part of how they do school down there is you pick the high school you go to based on what your interests are. So there was, if you wanted to go down the mechanic route as a freshman in high school, you go to the technical school that teaches you how to do that.
Okay.
And all your classes are based on that. You still have the general classes, but they focused on the technical side, and then they'd have, like the arts side. So if you wanted to go that route, you picked your high school, not on location like we do stateside, but based on what career path you wanted to go down. So I always found that pretty interesting that, you would know the kids based on the uniform they were wearing and then what kind of school it was that they went to.
So
and
is
stateside,
college,
we teach everything.
Oh, so is college like an option, or do they have as many colleges as the United States? I know it's a lot smaller country, but I mean, like I know the college system here, there's probably a college for almost everybody except non-high school graduates. And even then, GED kids could go to community college. So, what's it like there? Is it pretty elite? Like in Europe, it's pretty elite to be in college, from what I understand.
It is. You take a placement test, so similar to the ACT. Okay. So, like, let's say if you took the ACT, only the kids who get 32s and up out of 36 can go to college.
Wow.
So Christian, my very smart friend who taught himself English, he got into college and was one of the only kids I know from the neighborhood who did actually make it into college after taking the test. So,
I got pretty good grades, but if I was living in another country, I think I'd probably be making clay tiles for roofs.
Yep, exactly.
Wow, we're so lucky. That's amazing. I mean, you have to really earn it to be in college there. That's really interesting.
And so it's the irony is it's flipped. High school, you pay to go to the high school you want. If you're smart enough, you get to go to college for free. If you make it into college is completely free. Whereas high school, you pay tuition and you pay just like a private school would.
Wow.
And there are public high schools, but those are rough. You do if you don't want to be a part of the public high school whatsoever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's scary. So you pretty much have to have a decent amount of money for your kids to get a decent education there then.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to ask you, too, I hope I didn't forget, what kind of animals did they even have, like, in the mountains and the cities? There's monkeys, right?
Not in the mountains.
Not really,
monkeys.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
The most unique one would be alpacas.
Okay,
similar to a llama, for those who don't know. Yep. So you'd see wild alpaca running around, especially the higher up you got in altitude. A lot of unique birds and things like that.
Cool.
Everyone and their brother has a dog, but not the same way we do in America where, dog is the child and it's kept indoors and it's fed every day and it's, clothed and it's, people treat it as if it's part of the family. Down there, a dog is a security. So you have 2 or 3 dogs that live in your gated front yard.
Okay.
And then street dogs are just rabid. They're everywhere.
Okay.
So, so if you're a dog lover, I would not recommend going to South America.
Okay.
Because your heart's just going to be broken because there's just wild street dogs everywhere, and you'll want to adopt them all.
Okay. Because I noticed when I went to Italy, they just would have dogs in people's yards, either chained up or in the yard. It's kind of similar, really.
Yep.
Now I was going to ask you too, like, now in Ecuador they raise chickens, but did people like raise their own little gardens in every yard, or it wasn't really like that? I know in Italy that's kind of what they did. They'd grow their own stuff, and
a lot of people,
own, stuff that they raised.
Yeah, a lot of people did in the mountains.
Okay.
The fruit trees are pretty prevalent, so there's a lot of eucalyptus that people would grow those trees to make fires, and use it for healing. A lot of chickens, people would have chickens that they would raise and grow. And so just different things like that. There was a supermarket. It was about a half hour away by bus ride. So, super maxi would be similar to like a Kroger or Meijer or something like that.
Did people use supermarkets like we do here? Kind of like
your business people did.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So the ones who lived and worked in the city and had the office jobs, those are who you would see.
Oh,
and then it would be similar to if farmers only ate the food they grew and we never really interacted with them here. It's that idea. You had there was almost separate classes.
Okay. It's kind of like what we used to be in the United States. I mean, the rural people, that's the way it was, but it's not even close to that anymore.
Self-sustaining.
It's huge commercial farms now. I was also going to ask you, I know that you were in Ecuador, but then after you went to high school and graduated and you went to college, what's the next step of your missionary work, or where did you go travel after that?
Yeah, so after college, did a few years working in downtown Indianapolis.
Okay.
Then after that, went back to not the same town that my parents lived, but a few hours away on the Texas-Mexico border.
Okay.
McAllen, Texas, which is about as far south as you can get in the U.S. It's 5 minutes from the border from Mexico. And so I spent the last year living down there and working, and we had an elementary school, so I taught at the elementary school. We had a kids soccer program that I helped coach and run and operate. And then we had an adult program as well for soccer, basketball, and volleyball that I was a part of, and running that and operating that as well. So did a lot of sports related and community outreach type activities right there on the border.
See, that's why when I first started talking to you about that, and you said you were a missionary, and you said you were in Texas, I thought that was so strange because I did not know missionaries were stateside. And I know it's close to Mexico, but why was that a place where you would send a missionary? Can you explain that?
Yeah, well, so the field's been around 70 years. There's been missionaries in McAllen for over 70 years through our organization.
Okay.
And it's just part of, when you start looking around, I mean, shoot, there could be missionaries where we are in Indiana. As far as you see, you start seeing the need. And if you replace missionary with someone who fills a need and helps people, then you realize, you could really go anywhere. You don't have to go to the jungles. If you are a doctor, you can go work we have doctors in Temwa, Kenya. You can go work in Kenya and do brain surgery or help out that way. And like with us, we decided we're going to go here and we're going to open a soccer facility because crime in McAllen is really high. We also have a place in Stockton, California that has an after school program as well, which is very high crime rate, as well as one in Native America, the Arizona near Phoenix. We have another mission field there. So basically anywhere where there's crime and a lot of poverty and a lot of, opportunity for things to go bad. The mission has decided we're going to set up after school and really focus on the kids. Because if you can start working with kids, they're much more malleable. You can change their mindset on, hey, you don't have to go down the drug route. A little bit. You can change the culture one generation at a time. So that was really my approach. I'm not a preacher or anything like that. I was just there to coach soccer, help kids, help families, and be part of that relationship of getting to know people. and living with them in community.
So crime, as you say, like in McAllen, Texas, how big was McAllen, Texas, first of all?
McAllen's big.